Okay, thank you, people. Clark, do we have any apologies for today?
Yeah, apologies from Matt. Random. I'm audio recording this meeting.
Okay. Do we have any new declarations of interest from council? Something that's in the agenda? Do we have any dispensations to consider? No. Item 3, first County District Council's report. Mark, as the senior representative, would you like to start?
I don't know about the senior, but thank you. My report is really quite brief. The one from last month, there are a few items which I deliberately left in there because they're important to tick over. The one thing which I did want to mention, which is not on there, I had quite an extensive meeting when we actually ended up in here with Bob Skillen and Roderick, and the particular principal subject was the path to the garden centre. We're never going to get it on the hospital side at £140,000, and unfortunately Tim still owns the field, and he won't allow the path to run on the inside the hedge, which, you know, the funding and everything is there to do. So the only way is the restoration of the completely overgrown path on the opposite side of the road where the development's underway. They will, the County Council will restore it, but they won't do it until the entrance to the new development is completed, and that's going to be quite soon. As you can see, they're preparing it, but there's going to be a undertaking lane. There's traffic which is coming north into Moreton. They will draw over into the middle of the road, and the rest of the traffic going through will carry through on an undertaking lane, and then when it's free to do so, traffic will turn right into the new development. The scope of that and the pathways either side of that splay going in is detailed, and I've seen it on drawings, but it's not quite the same thing as seeing it on site. But anything which is beyond the splay on the south side of that, the County Council will reinstate the path up to the garden centre. There is always the issue of how you get across the road. They're not
considering a crossing?
No. That's into a whole, I mean, we can try for it, I've asked, but it gets into the whole question of traffic regulation orders and such like. There is also a slight issue of when the developers do their work, the street lights are probably going to have to come out and be put in or replaced, because I think the width of the splay and the path are going to foul up. There's just not enough space. But we are slowly grinding. I mean, from my perspective, it's nearly 3 years of grinding. So I inherited this from my predecessor.
Well, it's close to 5 by now, isn't it?
Well, so anyway, that's sort of positive news. I think we will actually see something. I'd like to say by the end of the spring. I wanted to encourage that the work is done at the same time that they're doing the road adjustments and the entrance to the new development, but I can understand there are complications with different contractors and working side by side, so the development their entrance will be done, the traffic adjustments made to the road, and then CDC the County Council will continue the path, which won't actually be a huge distance. It's probably about 50 yards, if that.
Are they going to widen the road then? to
Could you
enable
undertake
that
it, or-
display?
Yes, there are adjustments being made to the, I think, to the hospital side. So
Did you notice whether they're retaining an island?
not. I'm trying to remember now the plans. I
Because
don't
the
think there
biggest
was
issue is
an
going
island.
to be people coming out of that site to turn right.
Oh, the existing
Yeah.
island, I believe, is staying. It wasn't, I didn't spot that they had removed the plans, and Bob Skillen certainly didn't mention it.
So there's nothing apparently to make it that easy for vehicles coming out of the new site to turn right into town. Because if you've got,
Yeah, no,
if they're
absolutely-
coming, yeah, if
absolutely
they're coming
valid.
north and going into the middle,
I
you've got
absolutely
3
understand
lanes, and there's cars going to be coming out to turn right.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe you have to wait until anybody who's trying to turn into the site has cleared.
Will we see these diagrams? Will we see the diagrams of what
I
they're looking
can ask Bob to
at? That
come
would
and
be
show them to
helpful.
you. I mean, they're huge technical
Yeah,
drawings.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Well, we've got that now. We've seen about the money for that particular footpath. We've argued on when the planning application for the care home came. There's a lot of issues on that side
yeah,
of the road.
yeah.
To me, it's bad planning.
I will put in a request that you are quite reasonably, I'm surprised you haven't been shown.
Yeah,
Right, okay.
thank you.
Thanks, man.
Any questions on the other items, please ask, otherwise.
Does anybody have any issues they want to raise?
No,
No? Thanks, Mark. Dal,
Shall I go first?
we come to you?
Yeah,
Angus isn't turning up, I understand.
Okay. Yeah, that's the junior one here, I guess. Obviously, I did send my report to Sarah Clark, so I didn't really sorry, that was only this morning, so I didn't get time to circulate it to council.
I've sent it round, yeah.
Great, thank you for doing that. I'll just go through the main headlines here, and then there's a couple of other extra things I wouldn't mind just talking to councillors about. So there have been some cabinet decisions here. Obviously, I will show you what the meetings coming up and the meetings that briefly passed. And on the PDF there are links that you can click through to then see the cabinet meetings, the agenda, report packs, and the webcasts from previous meetings. There have been some cabinet decisions: council tax reduction for care leavers. Recommendation to full council proposes to extend the age up to which care leavers can receive a reduction in council tax from 21 to 25 years. There's the council tax premium on second home for long-term empty properties that the cabinet put to full council, and that was approved. I voted for that council tax premium on second home.
Got a quick question on that. It doesn't kick in until the property's been empty for a year.
That's correct.
So a lot of people then
empty
going
homes.
back in for a weekend and the clock
Yeah.
ticking again. Is
Yeah.
that how the legislation is written?
Well, I couldn't
As
think
long as you
exactly.
go,
Yeah.
then it's a year from
Yeah.
the last time anybody stayed in it.
In full occupancy.
So that would mean furnished.
Yeah,
Yeah.
living there, proving that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's how do you police it? It's such a tricky one, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, well, so
They seem to have
so
gone-
many days in 365.
Yeah, they seem to have gone to the simplest in their minds
Yeah.
way of doing it.
Yeah.
And then there's some information here. Again, I can reply to your email if there's any questions on this, on business rate relief, the hospitality for 24-25, and leisure. There's also the public review that's still going forward, and then transition plan that the council and cabinet are working through. And then it's on to the Cotswold flood meetings that Jeffrey Clifton Brown will be holding, some in Cirencester and also up here. They have to take place in the Reesdale Hall this occasion due to the upcoming election of the Police and Crime Commissioner on May the 2nd, so it had to be moved. So Jeffrey will also be holding a separate public meeting on river pollution on Friday the 17th of May at 10 o'clock at the Cotswold District Council Chamber in Cirencester. Again, these diary dates are all on the PDF that Sarah will have circulated to council members. The local plan update consultation period has ended. I put in a formal request that it be extended again, and that was refused by CDC, I'm afraid. Again, on Sunday the 7th, the CDC, their hastily extended local plan update consultation period ended. I did put a formal request in with the planning team, the CEO and the cabinet member responsible for the update to extend it. It was refused. Constant feedback was that residents found the website incredibly difficult to navigate, the forms being described as complex and confusing, to put it mildly, and the actual process of uploading and even commenting was not fit for purpose. That was why I asked for that extension, to help people at least have a bit more time to fill that in. And I know councillors and local residents have been brilliantly helping residents fill in those forms and get them through to CDC and navigating that incredibly complex, to put it mildly, process of responding. So the council has agreed to the setting up of a working group, but no decisions have been made yet regarding selection of that working group. No further communication has come to me.
Is that the same working group that was agreed by CDC in, was it February?
January.
January.
Yeah, that's correct. That is the same, and the terms of reference have not changed on that working group. No further communication has come to me as your ward member yet for next steps following the end of the consultation period. I have asked what those next steps will be, but as yet I have not received a response from the full planning lead or the cabinet member, Juliet Layton.
Well, I'm assuming that the next step is what the council have agreed, and
Which
that
would
is
be,
that there
yeah.
will be an initial meeting with CDC members
And
alone.
I've requested when will that date be, and I have not heard back from that date.
So would you, I don't know if you will have seen, if you've seen Angus's report,
Yes, I have.
and he has reported that there seems to be some intention of some facilitated workshop which has nothing to do with what CDC had agreed.
That was something that has been mentioned in the meeting, but has not been formally agreed.
What
So-
meeting?
But there was a meeting, well, there was a conversation with CDC about the possibility of this, but nothing has been agreed on. So I don't know why you've been told that that is the case.
Also, we can ask Angus, because he's not in.
It'd be good to ask him that clarification of that, yeah. And then just regarding this, during the consultation period, I've heard only voices of worry and concern and utter disbelief about the number of houses CDC have suggested, without any mention of infrastructure, which is why, as a ward member, this is not something that I can support, and I've made that very clear to people as much as I can. So therefore I support the residents, and that is a very clear no to overdevelopment with no infrastructure. No to dumping in thousands of houses in Moreton, which will potentially have a detrimental effect and dramatic increase in traffic and pollution to Moreton and also the surrounding villages. Regarding that, our MP, Geoffrey Clifton Brown, has made a formal objection to the excessive number of houses proposed in Moreton. That was a public objection. He's also written to the CEO of the Cotswold District Council, Rob Weaver, with his own personal objection to that, and that went in prior to the closing of the consultation period. So that has weight, and he will also be looking at the prospect of when that goes to inspector, also putting his very strong views forward to that inspector when they start to look at that plan from CDC. There's some relevant articles in there attached to some of the brilliant local community work that's been done. And also the council tax premium on second homes, as I said, the full council voted for that, and I supported that. You can read a little bit on the potholes and repairs, that having been travelling around the country a little bit, it's not just us. It is a countrywide situation at the moment, and I've put some portals on there that you're more than happy to join me in reporting those to highways. And there's a little bit of information about forthcoming committee meetings, overview and scrutiny, cabinet planning and licensing, and the licensing subcommittee, and of course ordinance and covenants. And there is no full council meeting this month, but there will be one early May.
Yeah, just quick tricky on the pothole issue. Did I see somewhere that Gloucestershire have bought a pothole repair machine?
Yeah, I saw a picture of it yesterday. It looks like a JCB with a funny gadget on the front. And it cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. I think they bought 2 of them for £500,000 or something. Chairman, just one point going back to the local plan. In my response to the proposals as we've seen it, I've obviously objected, and I have very strongly suggested that the Grampian provisions are put in place, i.e. the infrastructure has to be there before we can start at least occupying. I'm seeing James Brain, who is sort of lead, as you know, is the lead on the sort of from the officer's point of view. I'm seeing him next week, and it is this special meeting at Bleddington, and it is on obviously the topic, and I will be pressing this point with him, and I hope that I can get Jeffrey to do the same, because that is the only way we can be able to save ourselves. But that's all that said, my reading into the paperwork, and this is my interpretation, and maybe others have got a similar view, that unless we can get the infrastructure, the 1500 proposal is dead in the water. But the trouble is, it may be 200 here, 300 there, and you know it'll be a creep. But it's without that infrastructure. Thames Water, for example, from recollection, it's 2028 before they're going to start proper capital investment. Well, you know, that's just too damn late.
Well, Township is still in business by then as well.
Well, a good point. Anyway, I just wanted to make a point about the Grampian provisions.
Thanks, Anne. Has anyone else got any other queries to the members that are here? Okay, thanks. If we can move on to public participation. The change will go right to left. Chaz, do you want to start?
Yep, 2 items. Be as quick as I can. Both the council and the trust know my stance on the funding for the Riesdale Hall. The letter from the chair of the trust is not only very cheeky, but I believe it's very presumptuous and even shows some arrogance. At the end of paragraph 3, he states this is what we are expecting. Expecting, I was under the impression that grants of any sort from the council were discretionary, but it appears that the trustees think otherwise. Councillor Eastall's paper for the council meeting of the 16th of May 2023 states the purpose of this document is to agree the endowment value at the inception of the new CIO. This would be a payment significant enough for the Riesdale Hall Trust to continue to operate for a year, engage professional architects and planning experts to prepare planning documents, and to pay the insurance of the building. There are 2 points here. Why did the trustees continue to ask for £12,000 of public money when they had the capabilities in-house to prepare the planning documents? Councillor Eastall's paper shows that the council has already considered and decided that the endowment payment includes building insurance. Therefore, I believe the endowment should actually be reduced to £88,000 and the grant requested in item 10C be refused. The request gives no detail on how the project will help the people of the parish. Are the council still going to consider it? Would they do this for any other charity that did not provide the details? Or are the Riesdale Hall a special case so that you ignore your own financial regulations? I and many others believe the council has its priorities wrong and is far too focused on one specific charity within Moreton-in-Marsh. I personally believe it has lost its sense of duty to our wider community and needs to reconsider its position. Going on to item 10A, which is a grant request for Kate's Home Nursing. These people were absolutely wonderful during my wife's last few weeks of life, and I will never be able to thank them enough. The words written on their request do not come close to conveying the outstanding work these people do. This year alone, this charity has to raise approximately £650,000 for the support they give to our community, and only 15% of this is funded by the NHS. The rest, about £552,000, has to come via donations and fundraising. I'm surprised they've only asked for such a modest amount of £1,000, because if you consider the information in item 12 showing details for about £2,011 just for buying some plants every year, what price can you really put on caring for someone at the end of a life? Kate's needs hundreds of £1,000s a year. The cost of the support they gave my wife and I must have been more than £1,000 they've already requested. Kate's do fantastic work. I would gladly give Kate's the £12,000 plus the £5,700 rather than the Reesdale Hall. In fact, I'd go as far to say I would give them the £88,000 because they clearly provide a much needed service, and this council should give them much needed support and our gratitude. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
And you?
You fit well?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
Good,
yes.
good.
I'm good. No,
No.
I'm here for item 14 actually.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Well, just
I've been
to
asked
listen
to
or
come
did-
in and yes.
Did
so,
you want to say anything about that at all?
No, only that I assume everyone's had a copy of the email that was sent to Clark and had a chance to read it.
Just Simon, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to sort of
No, it was good email.
hear your consideration.
No, it's a good
and-
message,
yeah.
thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Nick, did you want to say anything? Julia? Okay, thanks. Okay, if we can move on to the minutes, please. First of all, minutes of the 19th of March. Does anyone have any issues?
Item 12, I declared another interest when we was discussing about allotments and cemeteries, and I believe Councillor Beresford did too when we came to that item.
Item 12 about allotments.
Yeah, allotments and cemeteries.
Oh, on the minutes, sorry. Sorry, yes, that was correct.
Yeah, no,
Right,
that's
fine.
very actually.
They've been making small amendments on it to be signed. Does anyone else have any comments on the minutes? If not, with the amendment, would someone like to propose?
I will.
Francis? Someone like second? Michael? Thanks. Those in favour? 6. Those against? Any abstentions? 1 abstention. So I will sign the minutes with the amendment. I shall initial that. Interest declared. Beresford. You want to sign? Yeah, back over. Okay, just bear with me a moment. 16. In the meantime, if you could just go through the minutes of the 2nd of April for me, please.
Question. Abstentions, are they not recorded anymore? Is it just against and for?
I never record abstentions because you record in the vote, so it's for and against.
It would be clear from those people that turned up, if they're not named, that they would have abstained.
Yeah, I can see that, but I just thought to ask the
No,
question.
Is everybody happy with that? Someone like to propose? Bob. And second,
I'll second.
right. Those in favour?
I was
Again?
against.
And 2 abstentions. Thank you. Yeah, do this.
Chairman, if you don't mind, I think I'm going to slip away, because I don't think there's
Thanks, Mark.
anything else relevant.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Right, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, item 6. To consider the position of council regarding the record of items which exclude the public and press, and to consider adoption of policy relating to the Clothing meetings. Sam, can I leave you to introduce this?
Hopefully you had a chance to read the paper, which is based on an email I sent out previously anyway, so you've got some background on recording of meetings. Anybody can record a meeting. What council needs to think about is having a policy around the recording of meetings and specifically around the confidential sessions of meetings, because in legislation that's an area where the council can choose whether or not to allow people to record those parts of meetings. Obviously there's quite a lot for you to think about. You've got these 2 seemingly conflicting pieces of advice that we've had through about recording meetings, but as I said, anybody can record a meeting, so it's not an issue, but it's whether or not, if you're going to have a policy around it, is it something that council wants to consider actually recording meetings themselves, and if you do, then there are all these other things to consider. As I said, there's quite a lot for you to think about here, so it might be that you want to say, yes, we'd like to have a policy around it, but you want more time to think about it. Do you want a committee or a working group to actually go into detail?
I'm a little confused, to say the least. Clearly, public meeting, public are here, anybody that's interested, we post these up, anybody can come and listen to what we have to say. And at the end of the day, minutes are produced to record what it is we've said and what conclusions we come to. So I'm wondering whether what we are saying or what we are intended to discuss here is whether we as a council should, from a point in time, record our minutes and have them available for members of the public that aren't here. Is that the proposal that we are considering?
No.
Or is that one of the proposals that we're
It's a possible
considering?
proposal, I believe.
It's a possible option, so yeah, it's wide open for you to choose, but you wouldn't be recording your minutes, you would be recording the meeting.
Oh, sorry, yes, sorry, exactly. So it would be recording all of this and having it available as a...
You could just
One
stream it,
file or
you could just
something,
stream it live and not actually keep the recording, just
Yeah.
have it there, or, there are so many options.
Yeah.
And you just need to decide if you want to do anything different or...
I'm undoubtedly
to
in
use your-
favour of actual recording of the meetings. I believe it would be better for the council to have the recording rather than members of the public, although nothing's stopping them doing that themselves either way.
Yeah, well, it's irrelevant whether or not someone else has recorded the meeting and what they do with that. It's what you need to think about is whether or not you want to change your current practice, which is that you don't record meetings, from the perspective of being as open and transparent as possible. Councils are allowed to record their own meetings and put them on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. It provides an opportunity for people to access meetings that can't actually get here because of time restrictions or disabilities, or lots of reasons why people can't actually come to meetings. But you don't have to.
Yeah.
Can I just be clear about the agenda?
So, A is to consider the position with regard to the part of the meeting that excludes the public and press.
Yeah.
And B is to see whether we want a policy.
Yeah.
So actually, if you had a policy, if you took B and it took into account A, really, is that the decision we're trying to reach tonight?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, decide if you want to have a policy, that you can decide the detail of it, or you can save that for another time. And I said there's a lot for you to consider, so you may not want to go into all of it tonight. But the key thing you really need to think about, which is like item A, is recording of confidential items, because, you know, the legislation says that the council may decide whether or not to allow. So you can't just let people record confidential sessions of meetings. You need to decide whether or not, and then you need to decide whether or not you want to, you know, lots of councils they'll record meetings themselves, they'll put them live, but they'll say, we don't record confidential sessions and we don't let anyone else record confidential sessions.
I mean, which I think is a fair policy, and I think unofficially that's our policy as it is anyway, isn't it?
Mm.
Well,
But that's what other councils do as well.
Jean?
Do you want to finish? You were just about.
No, it's okay, no, you
Okay. So I was looking through item 6 and I've just made some notes. So with regards the policy, so this is the open and accountable local government. So this is about press and public, so I want to make that clear because you've specified the public, but it also includes the press, which is a professional role. So this is an act of August 2014. So in here, it actually refers to page 7, when you look at it. I've uploaded this on SharePoint, and I'm happy to email everyone a copy. This is the plain English version that I got from the government website. It says here on page 7, is there any other limits that I should be aware of? The council and local government body should consider adopting a policy on the filming of members of the public. And when I do a word search, it only comes up with the filming, the policy for filming, not for audio, not for anything else, just for filming it came up on the public, and to ensure that they protect children, the vulnerable and other members of the public who actively object to being filmed without undermining the broader transparency of the meeting. So also the response from the ICO, is it possible that you could provide council with the original copy of that correspondence, because you've made references here, you've done a copy and paste. It'd be nice to see the original document. In the ICO's
Can I
copy and paste.
just interrupt you on that point?
Yeah.
Some of the advice I had from them over the phone, so the stuff where I've quoted, where I've got stuff in an email, you can gladly have, but where I've actually spoken to them on the phone, obviously I can't give you that.
So this is where I think maybe the legislation itself is probably the most reliable reference point, I think.
Not necessarily.
What legislation wouldn't be the most reliable?
No, the document that you're quoting from.
Okay.
That plain
Okay,
English
this has come from the government website.
Yeah.
It refers to private individual in the ICO. What else? Private in-camera meetings. So it says here, so I'm wondering why there needs to be a policy, because it's an individual attending the recording of a meeting as part of their work or professional life. The UK GDPR will usually apply. But earlier on it says that as an individual, as myself, I'm responsible, and I will take responsibility and take care. When you've asked me to redact in the past, I've redacted, and I will continue to redact. But what I'm reading from the legislation is that this is regarding filming, because it becomes very, you're exposing the individuals in the room in that, and that's basically me referring to legislation. That's all I want to say.
The reference in recording is any recording, whether it's filmed,
Is the definition is in the legislation.
The council can have a policy about anything it likes.
Yes.
Can I just, first of all, I think, there would be the question of what would be the aims in attempting to do any of these things. Because if you start with the end in mind, then we'll understand a little bit more how you need to get there. we're talking about the only thing that bothers me is the issue that recording meetings is not a problem per se. There's an issue about recording meetings that could be available in general public if we are talking about it being closed to the public, in which case we do not think, unless for exceptional reasons, there should not need to be any recordings of those. And if you get to the point at the end of a meeting when it's decided, I can understand sometimes, and Jean asking for, basically recording this for her own needs, which is fine, and understanding those things. As far as the legal explanation of what happened at a meeting, that's what you have the minutes for.
Mm-hmm.
And the important thing is that you must ensure that they are sacrosanct, that once those meeting minutes have been agreed, they are the legal document and legal record of that meeting. Now, should the council, for example, want to record it, I would suggest that they would need to be, would not need to be kept after the minutes have been agreed, because that would be pointless. So one would have to ask what the aims would be of doing that, of taking those recordings in the first place, and therefore the need to have a policy if there is a simple agreement of points of, do we wish to decide that we wish to record private meetings, in which case the council can take a decision, yes or no, in which case does that not deal with the main aspect of that element?
Yeah. Do you watch district council meeting recordings?
Yes.
I have seen one, yeah.
They don't record the private sessions.
Well, no,
And they don't produce
just on your point around what's the point of providing recordings? Well, sounds like you've benefited from looking at district council
Because there were no
meeting
minutes,
recording.
because that was well before the minutes would be produced. After the minutes are done, there's no point in watching it. What
So you've
point is
never
there?
watched
I've
it.
never watched it after.
But I think
the
it's
minutes.
about you have a different medium through which people can actually see what is discussed and what decisions are made. Because fine, the minutes, that's fine, but that might suit some people, it doesn't necessarily suit all. I mean, I don't think that any private part of the meeting should be recorded. I think that just introduces complication, but I would say there is a case for you record the public part of the meeting. I don't think filming is suitable here because I just don't think it's technically possible to do that in this room without filming members of the public, so you introduce all sorts of issues. But there's no reason that we could not record the audio record the public part of the meeting and simply put that on the website for people to listen to, because as you point out, the district council obviously got the setup though, haven't they, to do video and everything else, but I think it is useful and could be to some people.
I think there's a key difference as well though between a district council that's organised on political meetings, whereas a parish council, we've had it before where previously a district councillor misunderstood the fact that the parish council is there to discuss debates and come without any, without any preconceived ideas and get round the table and have that discussion, whereas in the district council it's not quite the same. They do discuss, I'm not saying that, but they don't operate quite like the parish council. So we had a councillor in the past who wrote an article in the local magazine saying that he'd observed the Moreton-in-Marsh Town Council meeting and it was in disarray. And the reason he said it was in disarray was because of the difference between a parish council where the councillors are having that discussion around the table, and he didn't really realise the difference between his own council at CDC and this one.
Or there's a difference between having 10 different opinions rather than 2.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's that's my observation from the past, but
No, I hear what you're saying. I still think decisions are made in this room that sometimes involve significant sums of money that ultimately the public pay for. So it should be as open and transparent as possible.
Yeah, and but again, the minutes then become that legal record. Can I use the word legal record?
Yeah, the minutes are the legal record. But yeah, I mean, you could decide, say, right, yes, okay, so we'll record meetings, but then your next decision is, well, how long will we make those available for?
Yeah.
And that's entirely up to until the minutes are issued, or you can choose to keep them longer. Entirely your choice.
I mean, 12 months seems like a good idea, but again, it depends what everyone else thinks.
12 months for what?
For how long to keep any kind of recordings. But again, that's up to everybody really to. I'm sure they've all got their own.
Well, I think the legislation's here for a reason, so I think we should use legislation as a guide. The introductory page says that the legislation, this national rules have been changed to make councils, including parish councils, and other local government bodies such as fire and rescue authorities more transparent and accountable for to their local communities. And parish meetings and parish councils are listed in Annex A. So with regards, the whole reason we're discussing about audio recordings or any form of recordings about transparency, if there's any stipulation as to regards duration that we keep the records and make them public, then maybe we should refer to this rather than guess, because we're meant to be acting by law. With
The law's not
regards,
telling us to record it, are they? The law is not telling us to record it.
No, it's not.
it's not the compulsory, it's
No.
advisory.
it
It's my observation.
I don't think it's advisory, Jean, is it?
So what word would you use if it's not compulsory?
Well, you just have an ability.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah, you may,
why
you may
what
record your meetings,
or
you're
you may
allowed
not.
to. Yeah. You
The
don't have to.
legislation will say you may.
Well, what I wanted to say is that District Council, on the front of their meeting, their agendas, they have a box section that's recording of proceedings, and it basically is public reassurance of their rights to make a recording. And it also says, as a matter of courtesy, if you intend to record any part of proceedings, please let the committee administrator know prior to the date of the meeting, which again is what has been suggested in the policy. So it would not harm this council to at least add that in to the beginning of our
Well, you could.
agendas.
You could, if you decided you would have a policy around recording meetings, you could just have a document that just explains to people that they can record.
Can I propose that we have a vote on whether the council favours recording the meetings for public use?
Well, I think first, can we separate the public area and the...
Well, obviously for the
closed
public
items?
area
The public
meetings, obviously I thought we'd already established that through the chat.
I think probably the majority of people may well end up saying they would not want the closed sessions to be recorded.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think that
fine.
either.
In which case, the issue is that if people feel that it's then we would need to create a policy to ensure how we produce it, and I would suggest we then move into a group to some way of sorting out the finer details, if that's the case.
To take like a proposal that whether in principle we want to go with the idea and then we work our way back from that basically.
I think we should have a vote on it, whether we think we should record for the public meetings for the public.
Well, as Malcolm said, if you do this first bit, then you would have to have a policy which would look at that.
And at the moment, I mean, it's what you consider on the paper, which is why I'm proposing that we just put our hands up and see how we're swayed towards it. Obviously.
Well, as a starting point, without predetermining any type of vote, would you like to have a show of hands to see who initially has an idea of thinking it would be a good idea to record the meetings then?
Please, yeah.
Okay, who would be against recording the meetings? Who would be in favour of recording the meetings?
With caveat.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you think that's a good idea to record the meetings, then what we need to do is to set aside some time in the right format for us to get together to create a policy that covers all the possible involvements of that. And where would you like to suggest that goes? Finance and governance? Logical? As a governance point?
Yeah, would be, yeah.
To start to consider a policy with regard to recording? That would be the logical place to start the discussion, and then bring back a suggested policy of doing that.
Yeah, can we get in touch with our, because they're already recording meetings at Cirencester, can we see if there's anything from then we can get, that would help us along the
Oh,
process.
their own policy.
Well, we'd have to check to see if they have a particular policy of how they do that. We can do that.
We've
Get
got
it off.
examples.
There are-
Yeah,
Yeah,
it might
we've got
simplify
that.
things, that's why.
So, okay, if the majority is that, is of that, would someone like to propose then that we actually push that to finance and governance to construct some form of,
Is there any other options?
well, somebody, we're gonna have to do it, we're not, you can't really just do it from scratch in a meeting like this, and we've got a large agenda to get through, so the logic would be to throw it down to a committee to consider, and then it comes back with the suggestions. What else would you suggest?
Return to the working group.
So council will still vote on it,
Unless you
make
create,
a,
unless
make
you create a working
amendments.
group of members, just to
Well-
have an informal discussion and come up with something.
F&G will only come back with a proposal to the council.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be making the decision.
I think a working group's going a bit over the top.
Yeah, and if,
Someone
if finance and governance look at it, they're doing it on the basis that at the moment, the majority of the members appear to feel that they want a policy that encounters recording of meetings. So they can then look at all of the issues of how to record them, how long to keep them, what to do with it when the minutes are done, etc., and how to promulgate those recordings.
So can I propose that finance and governance create a policy about the audio recording of public meetings?
I'll second
Yeah.
that.
Okay? That's Darren, second by Malcolm. Those in favour? Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, I think that covers A and B. You happy? Yeah. Okay, thanks. We move on to the finance and the list of payments, which we have at 7A. Hopefully everyone's had a scan of all of these. Does anyone have any comments? I'm happy
Yeah,
to
I've
put
got one very quick question about the highest lady. Did it go up recently? Across session?
Yep.
Yeah, they usually put them up. Yeah, but did it go up significantly? Just, oh, was it? Okay. Okay,
So how long is the session? Full session's at 54 at the moment, so if it's gone up from 45 to 54, yeah? So how long is the session?
Tuesday.
So I mean, I'm just wondering how long is the session, how many hours?
They're still counting in the left, right,
So it's probably done at £3 an hour then? Yeah, okay. I'm happy to propose, anyone second me?
Yeah, second.
Those in favour of approval and payments? 5, 6, 6, 4, those against, any abstentions? 2 abstentions.
You saw what's on section.
7B, this is to consider renewal of the annual subscription to GapTech. Anyone got any comments on that?
No. Think you said it, but
Well, it is helpful under usual circumstances, although the quality of the advice sometimes, and depending on the turnover of staff at GapTech, may cause an issue. But
Yeah, sometimes, well, and it has improved recently, I think, because they've got more staff in, but I've had to wait a long time for some responses. But, hence the next item about the SLCC, because it gives me a little place that I can go to for advice.
so,
Do you know how they get the 7.94 pence? Is that a standard that everybody uses?
To what?
On the way they go away, 7.94% It's in there. It's on the front of
what's that? It's that calculation.
Yeah,
The way that
yeah,
they calculate
yeah.
subscription.
Just seems a very unusual number to come
You've done it, it's just very elected, isn't it?
through. Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
obviously just divide it.
Yeah, the rates are dependent on the size of your farm, and I think they always have been. Hence they listed the number at 3,878. Which means it's going to go up each year and could increase significantly.
Not more than 4,000.
People, not electors. Residents, but not electors.
Yeah.
So, anyone like to propose?
I will.
Francis, anyone second?
I'll second.
Yeah, Darren, those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. So Clark said, as another option for giving a response to advice is through the SLCC. Cost of £348, £20 joining fee.
When was the council last a member of that? Here?
Couple of years ago, possibly 3 years ago.
Yeah,
I can't remember
it was
which
before
the
your
last time.
time,
I'm sure
but,
whether my predecessor had it, possibly not.
Society
Local council clerks.
Council clerks. I think it's quite a good talking shop as far as the client's concerned. I wouldn't have a problem with that. So I'm happy to propose that. Someone second me?
I'll second you.
Yep, okay. Those in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. We have the consideration of paying 50% of the monies due green bin. It's something the council has done for a number of years now, and it is to clear up land actually that I think we own.
You've
You've adopted.
adopted to look after it.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite funny that she wrote, "Hello there, sorry I don't know your name."
But as I say, this is something that we've done for a number of years and going to continue for some years before I joined.
What's the cost this year? It's not been.
It's
64.
half of £64, I think it's 64.
Yeah.
Yeah, the managed to give what tax do.
I'm happy to propose that.
Yeah. I'm happy to second that. Okay, those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. Stephanie, note on the finance report.
Yeah, the summary, financial budget comparison. That all, no, that's it. We'll get on to it.
Everyone happy to note? Thank you. Moving on to F,
Yeah,
March finance report.
not all the reserve units have been put through.
Sorry.
Not all the reserve units have been put through. Things like the triple finance, etc. for a year.
Yeah, no, it's not complete because I haven't got the latest.
So,
I think the latest we still will come on cost because they've not been paid yet. So the latest governing rules, which will be, so when you get your end of year, that will be rectified.
will we get that sometime before June?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay.
Any other comments on 7F?
Plans with the disposal. First be nice and long. 86,000, just need a gentle job, I think.
Is that outstanding?
would be, that would be the, that's one of your transfers for 80,000. Payment for your PVG. So if
That's
that's
what we signed
yeah,
up for.
it's 80,000, that's mainly covered that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the only budget it would go into, because it isn't part of your estates.
Yeah, I thought we had
Yeah,
six
so
ones
it
now.
should transfer from CCRL or wherever it came from. Yeah.
Seven G. Note VAT return 23-24.
Nice wedge.
Will be when we get it.
And expenditure of 250. H. And I, noting the water rates. Well, we meant to have a separate document showing that.
It's just, no, those never, just,
No,
we
okay.
just noted what was
Yeah.
in the,
Okay, if we're happy, can we move on? Item 8. Clark, do you want to just go through that?
Well, yeah, it's just about the pavement licence, and so it was renewed for another month, so it's there till the end of May, sorry, not the end of May, May 15th. The CDC planning come back and said they need a bat survey before the roof can be netted. Obviously that's caused a delay with that work being done. Potentially being done towards the end of this month, is that? Yeah. So all I'm asking is delegation to do another month's renewal. If there's any sort of further delay with that, if it sort of falls between a meeting, I don't want to have to call an extra meeting.
And that's 200 as long as it's
And it would be £201.60.
So, we need to agree that. Someone like to propose that? Right, says someone second. Those in favour? 5. Those against? 2. 1 abstention. Item 9. We have the issue of the previous agreement of the endowment offer with regard to the condition to Andrew Townsend. Things have moved on since that date. The suggestion is of reviewing and making an amendment to that endowment to remove that condition, because obviously that is pointless and of no use whatsoever at this point in time, or for the future, comes to that. Anyone have any comments?
The amount should be altered, as mentioned by a member of the public, because the original proposal included insurance, so either the amount is reduced or the grant application is refused, otherwise we're double counting insurance.
The original agreed proposal for the endowment didn't specify that the endowment had to be spent on insurance, so you do need to be a bit careful with that. You would be entitled to reduce the figure reflecting the Andrew Townsend amount that's not being spent anymore, but I wouldn't do that in relation to the insurance, because that's not what was proposed, unless you want to put in a new condition.
yeah, I thought we were just dealing with the Andrew Townsend bit here. That's his 12,000, I think. Yeah. That's what it says.
Can we not refer to the minutes of the agenda? For that decision, because we're saying we think.
Sorry, the minutes of what?
The minutes for that item, so that, the minutes for that decision.
Yeah, well, they're in the paper.
but the breakdown, the actual paper where it's broken down?
No, because that's.
No. What I had done in my proposal was just indicate what that could have been used for.
Yeah.
So although it wasn't there and it was identified that it could be used for that, it wasn't necessarily our choice as to what it could be used for or what it would be used for, but it could be. So there is some substance to it, but it wasn't the definite it was going to be used for.
Have the council resolved that the endowment had included, like if they had included a condition like the Andrew Townsend one, that money must also be spent on the first year's insurance or whatever, then that would be a condition that they would have to meet. But at the moment, as it stands, that is not a condition you've asked them to meet.
It's very clear what was voted on. It says this would be a payment significant enough for the Resale Hall Trust too, and then it lists a number of things, and one of them is to pay for insurance.
That's not what was minuted. What is minuted is what the council agreed. It doesn't matter
It may
what the
not be
background paper
minuted.
says.
But it's the principle.
It doesn't matter.
Principles do.
No, because
No, minutes,
if the council,
Yes.
if the council had, well, presumably everybody read the paper.
I don't.
If the council had believed it was important enough that they wanted to put it on as a condition, that would have been added in to the proposal. That's how it works. You need to add those things into the final agreement.
So the important thing, first of all, certainly is to agree whether this endowment condition should remain or simply be removed. So would someone like to propose the answer to that one?
I'm going to propose it's removed then, because if it's no longer necessary, then let's,
But if you remove the condition, you remove the value.
yes.
Well, yeah.
Recorded vote, please.
So is the amount changing?
So what's the proposal then?
Is to simply remove the condition relating to Andrew Townsend for the 12,000.
So, yeah, remove the condition of the amount.
Can you please elaborate what that means, to remove the condition?
Yeah, if the removal for the work that Andrew Townsend would have done come into 12,000, that work, what they were going to do, one assumes still needs a certain element of requirement, didn't they?
No.
Well, I don't think that matters, it's just that we voted that the money be spent on Andrew Townsend, and if it's not needed to be spent on Andrew Townsend, then you take it out. You take that condition out.
Okay, because at the end of the day, it still remains any outstanding work is still down, still whether the trustees wish to make requests for grants, because obviously the same is happening with the insurance in effect. Okay, so Amy, you're suggesting the removal in fact of that condition and a reduction of that, and the subsequent reduction of 100,000 by 12,000?
No, I've just said to remove the condition relating to Andrew Townsend.
Okay.
And the related amount.
And the amount, yeah.
And the amount of 12,000.
And someone going to second that?
No.
So which means that it's as if we never proposed that as a council.
Yeah.
So we're still going to give them the full amount
Yes.
and go back on our decision.
Well, we don't know what will happen next, but all I'm saying is, if it's not going to be spent on Andrew Townsend, as we thought it might at that time, just remove it.
So, is someone seconding that proposal?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you just give me the words again for the proposal?
Remove the condition for Andrew Townsend, including the related amount of 12,000.
So that's Eileen proposed, Michael Danks has seconded. Those in favour of that removal amendment? It's 5 for, those against? 2 against, 1 abstention. Okay. Grant applications. Now at this point in time, can I just ask a question? We're not making reference to 137 grants, we are merely talking about grants. Yes? Am I correct? Yeah. Okay, we have before us grant application from Kate's Home Nursing. registered charity, you've seen the information, you've seen also the member of the public's involvement and support for that. There was a requested grant for £1,000 or a contribution. I am happy to propose that that's approved. Would anyone like to second that or any further?
I'd like to make one comment. For the last few years, we have supported citizens' advice. We haven't actually had a request yet for that grant. If we're going to support this charity, I think we should consider this being an annual element of our grant funding.
Well, in your policy, you've asked people to apply again. You can't suggest it.
But obviously in the same way that we have for some time supported CAB, I think this honestly is an organisation that does a lot of good in our town.
Well, like the CAB, what we've also done is, what we could also do is to go back and ask about the extent to ensure, but I think the text of the request shows that there is use within the parish. We've gone back specifically in the past to the CAB and said, has this actually had an impact and worked for the parish, and they've come back and given us information to prove that it has. I don't think we need to do that in this particular case, but I think as far as budgeting is concerned, I think for the future, I think you're probably quite right.
Council, you know what our budget is for this year, right?
£10,000, isn't it? I mean, could argue it should be more.
Well, I'm putting in here, you've got something, I'm not in that. I just want to clarify that. Something that I just did.
May I ask a question? Can the council propose a different amount to Kate's home,
You can?
as in a higher amount?
What's the budget? Yes, Julie.
Yes, we can propose a different amount.
The problem is, we're only at the very start of the year.
Oh, really? We're just giving away 12,000. Okay. Right. Well, I propose that we double.
So you're making an alternative proposal to pay £2,000. Would someone second the amended amendment for 2,000?
I'll second you.
Those in favour? 3. Those against? 2. Any abstentions? 3 abstentions. Okay, so that's £2,000. We need a vote now. Go for, you want a separate vote for 2,000? Because that's the process you usually do.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah?
Recorded vote, please.
Yeah? Happy with that?
Okay.
So the amendment was approved.
Yeah.
In principle, so you want to approve the thing. So Jean's proposing £2,000. Darren, you seconded again? Yeah, those in favour, 2,000?
Oh, for 2,000?
2,000?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, so we voted on the first one? Yeah.
No, the first one was just
Voted on the application. Oh, okay.
That process, yeah.
This is your
So,
amendment.
yeah, those against? 1 abstention? Francis? Yeah, the rest is full. Yeah.
So what was
That's
the,
£2,000.
the 2,000, what was the vote, sorry, for the 2,000?
Unanimous other than Francis who abstained.
Okay.
Yeah, and to be fair, I wouldn't be against giving them that, it's just if you come back and ask again,
That's fine.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Next
Burden
is,
the trouble.
next is the request for the Rotary Club, and this again is something that's cropped up before, to undertake drama workshops with year 6 pupils in the primary school, asking for £250. Unless there's any comment, I'm happy to propose.
I'll second that.
Michael Swift seconding, those in favour?
Sorry, that you just speeding through, I'm still taking notes. So it's £250.
£250.
Work with school.
You vote for, Jean or not?
I'm voting for.
Yeah, that's unanimous. Next one, Reedsdale Hall.
Recorded vote, please.
Recorded vote when we eventually get to it.
Yeah, just in case.
Amount requested, 5,700 insurance, 1,800 for concern stands the structural engineer report for the scaffolding design to get the clock tower dealt with. Anyone got any comments?
They've got enough money.
They have enough money. I don't think they have anywhere near any money to pay for all these things, so else they would be asking for a grant.
Well, rolling up his sleeves and doing some hard work is also another option. And there's also other avenues in which they can apply.
I don't think hard work is something you cannot accuse them of not doing, but however.
Well,
Can I ask a question, whether the 1,800 cannot be taken from the £40,000 storm damage, because it will be required to deal with the storm damage on the tower at the same time?
Potentially, yeah, but
It would only be 1,500 quid then. It would only be 1,500 quid then.
yeah, we just don't know whether you can reclaim the VAT. It's likely that you can't reclaim the VAT, so.
Okay,
But if
let
we
me ask a
pay for
question.
it, it's more likely. Because you're not that registered, are you?
No.
Unlikely to be.
No, it's not likely that
You're
you
not
can
paid
reclaim
for
the
it, no, it's
VAT.
for us
because
doing
it's
it,
not
so
your
in
money.
case of their registration, it's us.
Yeah. But if we were to pay for that because of the work that's being done on the storm damage,
You have to commission that work, and that's the conversation for another day. It's probably going to have to go back to council, because
Okay, I only asked the question just in case. So we're talking about a total of 7,500, yes?
is this money
Yeah.
being taken out of, where is this money being withdrawn from, the 7,500?
This is grant, to be paid as grant.
So it's coming out of the general pot, the general,
It will be paid out of the grant monies.
it's coming up from Reedsdale now, Ben, so that, you know, the 63,000.
but that's not what,
Where they come from, well, that's because Malcolm said the wrong words. It's coming
Sorry.
out of the 63 that's been set aside for the Reedsdale Hall Trust to apply for grants. That's where it will
correct me if I'm
come out.
wrong, wasn't that just, I could be wrong, but wasn't that unring fenced, that 63?
No, it wasn't unlimited.
I thought maybe.
It's
I just
only
wanted to
fenced
check.
if it's not spent within 12 months.
Thank you. So that hence why they're cashing in now, I take it.
No, they need the insurance now and they need the scaffolding design.
Just
now.
saying, as it is.
You need them to have the insurance, otherwise, yeah, it's not going to be overhead.
So, someone propose that payment?
I'm opposing.
Recorded vote.
Someone second?
I'll second that.
Right. Eileen? Those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those against? 2, with an abstention.
Criminal.
You're being criminal, anything?
No.
Moving on
Abuse
to
of
number
power.
11. Moving on to number 11, skate park. Sarah. Would you like to explain what's happening?
Oh, yeah, I guess. So
Why was somebody driving that close to it?
again, they are driving
Okay.
on it again because they think they can't get through.
But
So
why
they
have
drive
they
on
been
it.
that
So they're trying to do like monster truck kind of thing.
Have you seen the picture?
Yeah.
They're clearly avoiding the rut on the left, so they're going where the track is where vehicles have gone in the past, and therefore it's taking the edge of the lump. of
Why are they
that.
parking on that?
I
Why are they doing
I don't
on
know.
that bit?
I don't
at
know as
all?
it was parking. I can't understand why on earth anyone would park around there. I thought it was probably just because a car has gone down there and the way it's taking
It's
the
not
edge.
joyriders.
No,
It's
no, I think
from-
it happens on the Saturday
It
when there's
happens.
a football match because they put the away teams and the players and referees and people to go round so they don't block up the rest of the public parking for people going in there.
We just
Don't take care as they're going round.
Yeah, and obviously,
Depends a
because
lot.
that was repaired, it's now it was a weak spot, which is now a broken spot.
Interesting that the football club are offering to do the curbing but not pay for the damage. So they obviously know that it's their fault or their.
You put a post up as well.
Jean?
Stop it happening again.
So I was looking at the photographs, I'm just trying to understand the scenario. In the email it says that they were going to do some investigating, so I'm wondering, that car park is quite small, and then that path, if I remember correctly, it doesn't lead to anything. So was the van reversing? Was it?
It does lead
It
to
does,
the back.
it leads to the football
The
club.
other side of the football.
They have
pitch
a
ground.
skip lorry that goes
Oh,
around there.
okay. So it would have been driving towards rather than reversing in.
They're having works done around there as well, so
Could
they're
it have been
having,
the skip lorry, because it'd be their liability
Okay.
if it were. Is that
Yeah,
worth
if you can
investigation?
prove-
Worth
if you can
asking?
prove-
Well, that's the problem, isn't it?
but this particular incident, this reoccurrence of it, a van was seen literally parked on it on Saturday, and I've asked the football club whether they can, and you know, whether they can find out whose van that was
But
potentially.
if the suggestion to curb it, or whatever the phrase is, will then be that ramp coming down to a level which is above ground level, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I think it's going to have to drop off, essentially.
Yeah.
So it will just be, instead of a smooth slope down,
Yeah,
it's
so
just
it
going
goes
to
down,
be a,
it will go
sort of
down.
90 degrees.
So I'm assuming that they will do
That's above
something
ground.
that will take the edge off
Yeah.
like that.
Hopefully it's
and
something
to be
that
honest,
takes the edge off the
What would
water.
Rosper say to that?
If they're going to do that and they ensure the integrity of the mound,
Mm.
don't really have a problem, because if they're going to do it.
But we'd want a guarantee of
But you'd
that.
want a guarantee, you'd want
Yeah,
some,
you need
you want
definitely
something
need
to be sure that it won't damage the integrity of this, to have that
Yeah.
not
Okay.
lift all the way down.
And Rosper's comment about.
Well, it's not lost, but I think it's the people that
Well-
constructed it, you'd need to ask them.
Well, I'm just
You'd have
wondering
to
whether
ask
that
them.
would then
Would that
form
be
a
safe?
health and safety issue for